Hey guys, the last video that Taylor and I did on our method of autoregulation, which we're calling V plus E equals SP, it got a lot of attention, and I was really happy about that because I have benefited a lot from it, and so I hope some people find it helpful as well. I also got a lot of questions, and I think that's awesome because it shows people are interested, it shows people want to learn. So I'm really appreciative of all the feedback and all the questions and all the um, it was all constructive criticism that I saw. So thank you for that. I really appreciate it. Helps me improve, helps me know what kind of information to kind of share. So I wanted to go a little bit more in depth, talk a little bit more about how we use it, how we implement it, and I want to start with a disclaimer that we're not trying to make this out to be by any means better than RPR, RPE, or RIR, or anything like that. And I want to admit up front that it's not grounded in any type of empirical research other than the research that Taylor and I have been doing with ourselves. So if you're looking to nitpick it or something, you can nitpick it to hell and back. That wasn't ever our intention to make this kind of like a flawless program. It's more of kind of like a practical implementation for people who just struggle with RPE and RIR because in theory I think those methods are perfect. It's very, very hard to criticize those methods in theory. It's more in practice when things like kind of your emotions in the moment when you're lifting, or your kinesthetic awareness, when those things come into play, they can kind of mess with your ability to implement those other methods of autoregulation appropriately. And so that's where this program can come in, or that's where this method can come in rather. It's maybe not in theory the best, but in practice for you as an individual it might be. So that's our only goal with this equation, is to come up with something that's maybe a little bit more practical for some groups of people. And it does have its limitations. So one of the ones that a lot of people brought up was, well, what if you're doing sets of 10, and you start out and your rep speed's really fast and the bar feels light, and then by the end the bar feels really heavy and my reps moving really slow? Or what if some of the reps move faster than others? And that's a great question, and it's definitely a limitation of this method. And so the way that Taylor and I program is that we only use this for sets, our top sets of 1 to 3 reps. And that really limits the way that it can be misconstrued, right? Because first of all, let's quick reminder of what the equation means. V stands for velocity. It's how fast the bar is moving. Faster is generally better if you're training for strength, and I'll talk more about that later. E is an approximation of effort, and to make this approximation, rather than judge how hard each individual rep is, like you would using the RPE method or even the RIR method, the only thing you're worried about is at the moment you unrack the bar, the moment the bar breaks off the floor if you're pulling, at that moment, does the weight in your hands or on your back, does it feel heavy or light? Just that one moment. If you're unracking a bench or a squat, you sometimes get that oh shit feeling, like this is really fucking heavy, I hope I can do it. That's heavy. If you unrack it and you're like, I fucking got this, that's light. Okay, and then there's some gray area in between, and generally we err on the side of caution, and if it's in between we call it heavy. But you can use the half measures, and be 7.5 or something for that if you prefer. But it's only that exact moment. You're not worried about the effort of the individual rep. Of the rep itself, you're only worried about the speed. And on a set of 1 to 3, hopefully your speed, your bar speed doesn't change that much. But if it does, it's a 3-rep set and the first rep is fast and the last rep is slow, take the last rep. Okay? So that's the easy answer to, well, how do I deal with high rep sets? Excuse me. Now, that's not to say it can't work for high rep sets. It's just that that's not how we use it. And again, I'll talk more about that later. But so we only use it for a top set of 1 to 3 reps. After we hit that top set, we then program our backoffs using either percentage-based programs or sometimes traditional RPE-based methods, right? So typically it's going to be a percentage-based thing. So if I'm doing a set of 3, I'll usually do backoffs with 80 to 90% of that. If it's a set of 1 or 2, I might have a slightly higher percentage that I'm doing my backoffs at, just because if I'm doing a set of 1 or 2, that's probably designed to be a more high-intense, low-volume day. And then if we want additional work, that'll be very low percentage. If we want additional work after that, it'll typically be in the 65 to 75% range. Okay, so we're really only using this method for the top set. And then, occasionally on assistance movements, bodybuilding work, because I am still doing bodybuilding training, then we'll add in things like the RPE or the RIR, or even, rest pause sets, all the fancy stuff. That's kind of independent of our own method of autoregulation. Now, I want to get back to that thing I said about bar speed and using this formula for multiple reps and bodybuilding and all that stuff. You can apply this formula to that. The way it works in that case is you're going to make some approximations for V, velocity, and E for effort, right? So, first of all, when you're looking at velocity and you're training for bodybuilding, slow is better, right? Because slow means that you have control, especially with the eccentric. Slow means that you have complete control over the weight. So I love to use the RP, the Renaissance periodization guys for this, because they really they put an emphasis on slow and controlled eccentric movements. So if you go watch Charlton Banks, you watch Mike Israetel, you watch Jared Feather, you watch them do their sets, right? These are strong ass guys. These guys, well, maybe not Jared, but Mike and Charlie both have a powerlifting background, so you know their strength potential is very, very high, even if they're using light weights for their typical workouts. And as you watch them train, you can see they're putting in ball-busting effort, but I guarantee you when Charlie unracks 225 or squats or lunges or whatever, it doesn't feel heavy, right? So his effort under our formula only, right, is going to be very low. I'm not saying these guys don't train hard. I've trained with them. They train hard. Effort in our system is just at that moment you unrack the bar, just at that moment you lift the weight. It's not the entire rep. And then the velocity is slow and controlled on the eccentrics. Yes, they do the concentrics as fast as possible, but they're demonstrating total control over the weight. And so in our formula, what that shows is even though the weight is low, even though the reps are high, they still probably have a very high strength potential if they train for it. And you can look at the numbers those guys have put up, and it's reflective of that. So I do think it can be used in that context. I don't think it's ideal. I think in that context, you probably are better with the RIR method like they use. But again, that can be difficult for some people. And if you want to try something new, this is an option. A few more things that I wanted to address. Some people have said, hey, well, velocity-based training and autoregulation and measuring your effort, all that's been done before. And yeah, that's kind of the point. It all has been done before. This is not new. This is not revolutionary. This is not anything like this. This is just a slightly simpler implementation of existing methods. Okay, I'm really emphasizing that fact because I'm not trying to pretend this is gonna completely revolutionize your training by any means. For me, it has, only because I am so fucking stubborn that I would continue to push and push and push until I get hurt using traditional autoregulation methods, and this has really helped hold me back. But I don't think for many people it's going to be a game changer. It just might be a slightly easier method of autoregulating. And then some other criticisms that people have said, well, you could just use an alternative method. Please, by all means, if RPE, RIR, velocity-based training, if those things work for you, don't change. Don't change what's working, guys. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. I'm not saying that you should mess around with something just for the sake of messing around with it. It's only if there's a problem that I think you should consider making a change. And when you do make that change, make it a small change. You don't have to do it with your entire program. Do it with just one set, one exercise, one movement, whatever, one day a week, something like that, so you can kind of ease into it. I think that's a very smart way of adjusting your training no matter what the change you're making might be. And then the last part that I want to address was a lot of people called out my definitions of RPE. That's what I've always known. That's what I've read. I think based on what I've read, I know the Stronger Breast Science guys and the Reddit guys have been talking about this a lot, and again, I appreciate that, but I don't think there's a consensus. Some people seem to think that our RPE is equivalent to RIR, which is what I thought. Other people disagree. They say they're completely different. This is kind of why we came up with the system. There's really no definitive method of autoregulation, so having more options is therefore kind of useful. So I do hope this cleared up some misconceptions. I hope I did not come off as defensive, because I don't think I have anything to defend. We're not trying to put some product out there to try to sell something or anything like that. This is purely informative, and I do appreciate all the feedback. I think it's very helpful. And we will continue to try and refine the method, but I think the future videos on this topic are probably going to get more into the details of the programming itself, because I do think those two go hand in hand to some degree. So we'll talk more about how we choose, is this today, are we going to do a set of 1 with a couple back offs at high percentage, or we're going to do a set of 3 with lower percentage back offs, etc., etc. When do we include the higher volume and all that good stuff. So again, I do hope you found this helpful. More feedback, keep it coming, and if there's anything else I can do to help, just let me know. One more note to throw in here at the end. The Train Heroic guys have made some suggestions for me for my peak HD team that I kind of tame it down and don't get as involved. I don't want to do that. I like being involved with the team. I like giving hands-on feedback. I like interacting with the guys that are on there and that are doing really well. So the peak HD team is not going to change except for the pricing. So the pricing after this week, or maybe after next week, will be going up. If you sign up before that price change happens, you will be locked into the lower rate, which is $29 a month. So I'm not trying to self-promote or anything. I just want to throw that out there for full disclosure. But I do enjoy coaching the team, so I hope you at least check it out. There's a 1-week free trial if you want to do that. All the links will be in the description below, and thanks for watching.